All right. We will now call the Common Council meeting of January 16th, 2024 to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Here.
Lorik.
Here.
Ritz.
Here.
Marshall. Here. Gale.
Here.
Guzekowski.
Everybody please rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Ken, you want to start us off?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Well, welcome to 2024, everybody. I trust that your New Year's was safe, happy, and got some time off. So, to my councilmen and women, welcome back. Looking forward to 2024. But we have to look at the minutes of 12/19/2023 before we get into 24. So, if you would, please take a minute to go through them. Take a minute to go through the minutes. And when you're satisfied, there's no questions, comments, corrections, or discussion, motion, please.
I'll move to approve minutes of December 19th, 2023. Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye. And item 4 is a public hearing for an official map amendment. It is proposed by Frontline to amend portions of the right-of-way around the area of 9900 South Ridgeview Drive, 9970, 120, and 140 South 20th, and 1850 West Oakwood. Catherine, if you would, please.
Certainly. Public hearing number 1 is to consider a proposal by John Schluter, Frontline CRE, to amend the official map for portions of the northeast quarter, northwest quarter, and southeast quarter of Section 30 mapped unimproved right-of-way affecting the properties at 9900 South Ridgeview Drive, 9970, 10020, and 10040 South 20th Street, and 1800 and 1850 West Oakwood Road. Applicant is John Schluter, Frontline CRE. Legal description there follows. Date of notice is December 20th, 2023.
Thank you. Doug?
Good evening. My name is Doug Seymour, and at least for today, I'm still the Director of Community Development for the City of Oak Creek. And this is the first of 2 public hearings this evening is on a proposed official map amendment for the properties at 9900 South Ridgeview Drive, 9970, 10020, and 10040 South 20th Street, and 1800 and 1850 West Oakwood Road. This really is broken down into 2 parts, and we'll focus on them, each of them kind of on their own, even though it's one map request. The first proposal is to take the property, as you see on your screen, which is at the end of Ridgeview Drive. That property, the official map for that property was recently amended to eliminate a through street in favor of a cul-de-sac on that property. And the proposal by the applicant this evening is to remove the permanent cul-de-sac from the property and to place it in the pretty much the exact location of what is a temporary cul-de-sac easement on the property to the north. And I know we've talked about that a little bit in terms of the planned unit development that was approved by the Common Council at their last meeting. The official map amendment would acknowledge kind of the discussion that took place at that meeting with respect to, how we get there, and I don't think that's to be decided this evening, but it just shows us what the ultimate end condition would be. The second part of the proposed official map amendment occurs to the south of this property along Oakwood Road and just east of Judith Place. We do have an officially mapped street pattern there currently, which provides for access to the rear of these parcels through a local street network. As part of the properties would be utilized for a stormwater detention pond, as well as additional landscaping for the development, a portion of that roadway would no longer be required. And the proposal is to replace that. And for those of you who have can view that on your screen, the area across Atchison Green would be removed and a cul-de-sac would be placed on the future road pattern on the property to the east to allow for an appropriate turnaround. Both of these proposals were vetted by the Plan Commission, and they have recommended approval of both of those. And again, we did discuss this a little bit at the Common Council meeting at the last meeting in December with respect to the planning and development. But as with any official map amendment, I mean, the concepts are that, I mean, it has to make sense for the entire neighborhood, and you can't just do it, change the official map to benefit your property at the expense of others. And I think that we've arrived at what is a good solution on both ends of this property. It's just a matter of kind of crafting the best way to get to that solution. So with that, this is a public hearing. I would ask that anyone who has any questions or comments regarding the proposed changes to the official map as presented to please approach the podium, give your name and address, and proceed to address your questions and or comments to the Common Council. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Doug. As Doug said, this is a public hearing. I will make 3 calls. This will be the first. Anybody wishing to speak? Yes, sir. We will need your name and address, sir. Oh, wait till you're on the microphone. Come on up. Just make sure you're on the mic for the
Hi,
minutes.
my name is Kevin Baxa. I live in 1900 Oakwood Road. I guess mine's a little more broad because I'm curious as to the proposed map of the street coming through the back of my property, and just, I guess this is the first news I'm hearing of all this. I'm wondering how this came about and if I have any say in the street coming through the back of my property. I know this is more of the proposed removal for the street and for the cul-de-sac stuff. I'm just wondering where I stand up and say something about what's going on in my property.
Okay, I think Doug's going to answer
Yeah, I mean,
that for you.
as property owner, you have total control over whether or not that goes in. It just suggests that, I mean, it's really there to protect your property and the properties of your neighbors, such that, I mean, if these were to develop in the future, that this would be the street pattern, so it kind of preserves that possibility. It's not anything that says, you know, the city's not going to come in there tomorrow and say, you have to develop your property.
Okay.
But if you do, that would be the street pattern that you would develop it under.
Okay, so these are just proposed, and then something later on date would be a meeting about whether or not it would go through
Yeah,
there?
for instance, if you decided that you wanted to develop your property at some point in the future, this would be the road pattern that at least we would start with, and you know, which would make sense for the development of the rest of the neighborhood.
Awesome, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Second call. Anybody wishing to speak? I will take this opportunity to read a letter I received that a resident asked me to read into the public hearing. It is dated January 10th, 2024. It is to the city of Oak Creek, and it reads, The Honorable Mayor and Council Members, we are unable to attend the council meeting and would like the mayor and council members to consider a request for an addition to the site plan submitted by John Schluter. This is the only way we can express our request, since there is no other option to comment at the council meeting if you cannot be there in person. We own the property on Judith Lane on the southwest corner of the proposed development. Mark has come to prior meetings regarding this proposal. We would like to see an additional emergency access be installed with a gate at the end of Judith Lane to access the Schluter development. Building site plan eliminates Ridgeview Drive's extension, which does eliminate the possibility of a future connection to Judith Lane. Mr. Schluter has previously stated he has no problem with the addition of the emergency access. The addition of the emergency access may allow some additional homes to be built on Judith Lane. The fire department stated at the last meeting that the additional access is not a requirement. The development consists of a very large structure with limited access on the south side of the building. Emergency access provides added safety for the development and the neighborhood. There is no objection by the developer to this added safety feature. We would assume there would be no reason to deny the request to have the access added. We feel this would be in the best interest of all surrounding landowners, as it gives fire and police a second access to a current dead-end street. Thank you for your consideration of this proposal. Sincerely, Mark and Kim Verhalen. We will discuss that before we close the public hearing. Third call and final call. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing. Move on to consideration of an ordinance amending municipal code of Oak Creek, amending the official map for the portions of the northeast quarter and northwest quarter and southeast quarter of section 30 on the properties at 9900 South Ridgeview Drive, 9970, 120, 140 South 20th, and 1800 and 1850 West Oakwood Roads. So with that, I'll open it up to the council. Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. Either Doug or Matt maybe can answer this question. With regards to the letter from the Verhalens, I would assume that an emergency access road is not comparable to a residential street in regards to construction and width and stuff like that, correct? Are they totally separate?
And
Yeah.
we should just establish the fact that Mark's letter is not pertinent to our discussion.
Well,
I think that what he
we can address it. We can
Yeah.
definitely
We're
address it.
talking about, we're talking a land use change on property that is not even adjacent to what Mark's discussing. So I'm not sure why we're even worrying about what Mark's letter is. It really is not,
I think
it's not, Mark's talking about a site plan. We're talking about, a street patterns.
we are talking about street
It's
pattern.
not, it's completely irrelevant for this discussion. Mark and John need to work on that
Okay,
outside the scope of this discussion.
we're still going to take it up because it's on the table. Steve has the floor. Steve?
I think just to make it very simple, and I think Ken's absolutely right. I mean, a emergency access through a parking lot, through an emergency access gravel roadway is not a public street. It's not going to show up on our official map, and therefore it's a matter, to be discussed between those property owners if they want to pursue that. I mean, we've already heard from the fire department that they're not going to require it, and I think that's, from staff's perspective, that's the gospel. I mean, it's the same as it would be if the fire department said, yes, we need it. We'd be the same thing. We'd be in front of you this evening saying, yes, we have to put it in, but that's not the case. So I appreciate that the property owner is trying to look out for his best interests, but Ken's absolutely right. It has no bearing on this official map amendment.
I do agree, and we've been around this number of times, so we may as well just put it to rest here. Steve, you still have the floor.
Oh, I think my question was answered, because if it's Mr. Verhalen, they talked about future residential development on a street that's not a street. It's just an access road. So, and I was going to add what Doug said. If the fire department doesn't need it or require it, then it's not an issue, and I'll just leave it at that.
And I would agree with you. We went round and round at planning with this. We went through this in the last council meeting. The fire department's recommendation, and Doug, I think you said it best. If they recommended it would go in, be the gospel, it'd go in. I think it's, even though it doesn't pertain to this, I think it's worth giving a final answer on it. Final answer across the board is just what you said, Doug. So,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
If Mr. Verhalen came later and negotiated with Frontline to do something with that, you guys wouldn't oppose, planning probably would not oppose.
Yeah, I think it's a little early to speculate about that, because it certainly would have implications on the site plan and how that development presents itself to that neighborhood. So I'm not prepared to say that that's the case, and nor would I even be in a position to say that.
And again, if an ordinance is preventing the development, probably the proper thing to do is come in and have a discussion about that ordinance and see if it's dated, needs to be adjusted.
Yeah.
And that's the way to go. So, okay. Back to the topic. Anyone else?
Okay, Danny, the recommendation on planning was pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
I know, and the minutes are pretty thorough.
yeah.
So anything else will be adopted here tonight in terms of proposed street pattern can obviously be readjusted at some future date. That's the key to this, that
Correct.
councils have discretion to change these in the future, so.
Correct. And you were all, we were here for the last meeting in December. This one concerns the cul-de-sac on Ridgeview as well. That was the
That's
one.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that one. Okay. The ones to the south were,
One, uncontroversial, I
Yeah.
think so.
it was the one, it was the cul-de-sac. So, Would the applicant like to say anything on behalf of anything? No? Okay. Any further discussion?
I didn't
Anybody? No, it was really an internal thing with us more than anything, I think, and with the applicant going forward. We discussed this at length at the last one. We did not want to burden the other property owners with this as well by pushing it back. A deal would have had to been done between Frontline and people had to give up the land for the right of way. So, there's no further discussion. Motion on 5.
I'll move to approve ordinance 3091, amending section 6.01 of the municipal code of Oak Creek, amending the official map proportions for the northeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, and southeast 1/4 of section 30. That'll do.
Guzekowski, I'll second.
Roll call.
Alderman Ritz,
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye. And item 6 is consideration of a request by AVG Intermediate Holdings doing business as Urgent Vet for a conditional use permit for a veterinary clinic within the existing multi-tenant commercial building at 8907 South Howell. Catherine?
Public hearing number 2 is to consider a request submitted by AVG Intermediate Holdings, doing business as Urgent Vet for a conditional use permit for a veterinary clinic within an existing multi-tenant commercial building on the property at 8907 South Howell Avenue. Applicant is AVG Intermediate Holdings, doing business as Urgent Vet. Property owners is GP-PCB Partners LLC. Legal description there follows. Date of notice is December 20th, 2023.
Thank you, Catherine. Doug?
Thank you. Public hearing number 2 this evening is for a conditional use permit for a veterinary clinic for the property at 8907 South Howell Avenue. It's pure and simple. This is a proposal for an Urgent Vet facility for an existing commercial land development, an existing multi-tenant commercial center. The property is properly zoned. Vets do require a conditional use permit. There's information about the proposal. It is about 2,450 square feet. It is not an emergency clinic. It's not a boarding. It's kind of the in-between, and I'll let someone else describe it if they so choose, but it's, for the kind of I think it's as urgent care for pets. That's probably the best way to describe it. I think it fits in well with the retail mix and the service mix for that commercial plan development. I believe that the Plan Commission felt the same as they recommended approval of the amendment to the conditional use permit, and they also recommended approval of the conditions and restrictions. This, also being a public hearing, we request that anyone who has any questions or comments regarding the proposed conditional use permit for a veterinary clinic for the portion of the property at 8907 South Howell Avenue, please approach the microphone, give your name and address, and proceed to address your questions and or comments to the Common Council. This public hearing is open.
Thank you, Doug. This will be the first call. Second call, anybody wishing to speak? Third and final call. Anybody wishing to speak on the topic? Okay, we will now close the public hearing and go on to item 7, which is consideration of the ordinance approving that conditional use permit for the veterinary clinic on the property at 8907 South Howell. Open it up to the council.
Do you know what unit they're actually intending to occupy?
Yeah, you can see it on the
It's
screen.
on the
It's
screen.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure what was there before, but there's
Yeah,
one
okay.
removed from Panera.
If I had to go back, I would say a Red Wing store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Red Wings.
I'm guessing. Just to give you a little background, Greg, you want to give them some background on planning? Were you there at that one?
I was actually gone that planning
Oh, okay,
meeting.
well, I'll bring it up. The biggest controversy was the pet relief area and where it should go and how it should be kept. That's actually going to be directly across the parking lot. If you see that island, kind of sticking out, the green island, it'll be there. They're going to put in, I don't know the proper word for it, the dog stations.
Is there a fire hydrant?
What's that?
Is there a fire hydrant there?
That was the biggest controversy, but the owner was gonna work, not only with the business owner, but the city alike to make sure it's kept clean. So, as Doug said, no overnights, nothing like that. So. Good move. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, motion?
Fritzel move to approve ordinance number 3092, approving a conditional use permit for a veterinary clinic on the property at 8907 South Howell Avenue.
Lorick seconds.
Roll call?
Alderwoman Marshall? Aye. Gale?
Aye.
Guzekowski?
Aye.
Kirkowski?
Aye.
Lorick?
Aye.
Ritz?
Aye.
And under new business, we start with fire. Item 8, consideration of a motion to approve the purchase of 49 sets of Innotex Energy Structural Firefighting Turnout Gear. Chief Kresick is here to tell us all about the new gear.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mike Kresick, Fire Chief. Tonight, we're requesting approval for the purchase of 49 sets of Innotex Energy fire gear, turnout coats and turnout pants. As you may be aware, we do a 5-year rotation, a rolling CIP for the purchase of our fire gear. Our fire gear has a 10-year life within our organization. It spends the first 5 years frontline use. At that 5-year mark, when we go through our purchase process, the initial set of gear moves to backup status. At the end of 10 years, that backup gear is then taken out of service for structural firefighting, often donated or utilized by our cadets and interns who are not involved in the structural firefighting process. We had a committee led by Battalion Chief Jeff Malice that investigated fire gear starting last fall. Now, they investigated several different brands of gear, and they came down to 3 sets for final consideration: the Innotex Energy, Globe, and then the Honeywell Morning Pride. Our current gear is Globe. The recommendation of the committee was to move forward with the Innotex Energy based on several factors: flexibility, cooling, features, configuration of the gear, and cost. Now, as it turned out, the Innotex Energy was recommended by our committee and is also the lowest price option. So our recommendation moving forward is to purchase those 49 sets of Innotex Energy.
Questions for Chief Kresick? Mike, I got one, just kind of educate me. Is each turnout gear custom made for the firefighter, or is it just small, medium, large, extra large?
It is custom sized for each of our members. We've gotten very good at protecting our membership over the course of the years. They are sized up individually, and the gear is custom made.
Never knew that. Glad to hear it, though. Makes sense.
Mike, any issues with service cycles or anything like that? And, what kind of maintenance has to be done with these kind of things? Or do you just discard them if they get damaged?
So if the gear is damaged, it goes through an assessment process, including through the manufacturer, that determine the serviceability, the repairability. So that is analyzed based on any faults that are damaged during a fire call, damaged during an EMS call. Our routine maintenance on gear includes an annual check process. The gear needs to be washed after every structure fire. That's where that second set of gear comes into play. It allows us to rotate that gear through. So certainly the maintenance of that gear, that's a piece of their protective equipment, and we pay close attention to making sure that it's in the best condition.
Any other discussion on 8? Okay, seeing none, motion.
Marshall moves that we approve the purchase of 49 sets of Innotex Energy Structural Firefighting Turnout Gear.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye.
Thank you.
And item 9 concerns engineering, and it's a resolution granting We Energies a 6-foot wide permanent underground electrical easement at 530 East Shepherd Hills Drive. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. Matt Sullivan, Assistant City Administrator, Engineer. As stated, this is a request from We Energies for a 6-foot wide easement along our property at 530 East Shepherd Hills Drive. This is located on the eastern portion of the property, just east of the softball field that's not lit. So the case that we have here is There is an existing easement that's a 10-foot wide easement that runs along the properties that abut Veronica Drive, the westerly property of those, but our property of 53 or 530 East Shepherd Hills. Due to the obstructions that have been placed there, fences, sheds, landscaping and such within that easement, We Energies have requested this easement from us instead of going to these property owners and requesting that they remove all of that obstruction. We, after reviewing it, don't see an issue. It's an open field. There's no other utilities or things along there. This has happened in the past, and we have granted those. I'd be happy to answer any questions in regards to this.
Any questions for Matt? Okay, seeing none, motion?
Fritz moves to adopt resolution number 41624, granting a We Energy 6-foot wide permanent underground electric easement, my eyesight is going, at 530 East Shepherd Hills Drive, tax key number 907-9040-000.
Lorick seconds.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
And item 10 is the license committee. I'll turn that over to Alderman Kirkowski.
Thank you, Mayor. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review the items on tonight's Common Council report. Does anybody have any questions, cares, or concerns? All right, seeing none, Kirkowski make a motion to approve the various license requests as listed on the January 16, 2024 License Committee report.
Fritz will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
And item 11 is our vendor summary report for December 27th, 2023, the amount of $501,086.46. Of this total, $224,922.65 will affect the 2023 fiscal year, with the remaining $276,163.81 affecting 2024. So if you'd please take a look at your report, and if there's any questions, please take the floor. And when you're satisfied, there's no questions or discussions, motion.
Gail move to approve the December 27th, 2023 vendor summary report in the amount of $501,086.46.
Marshall will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Aye. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
And item 12 is consideration of a motion to approve the January 10th, 2024 vendor summary report in the amount of $2,650,293.80. Of this total, $2,331,623.11 will affect the 2023 fiscal year, with the remaining $318,670.69 affecting 2024. Once again, please take a look at your report, and if you have questions or comments, please take the floor. Seeing no questions or discussions, motion?
Marshall will move to approve the January 10th, 2024 vendor summary report in the total amount of $2,650,293.83.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye. Okay. Before we get to adjournment, sorry, Doug, I have to point this out. This is Doug Seymour's last council meeting with us. If anybody would like to take the floor and say a few words?
Congratulations, Doug. Good for you.
Doug, you've had a fantastic run. You should be very proud of your accomplishments. So,
Yes.
more power to you, Ben. Have at it.
Anything, Andrew?
Won't be able to look at you when I say this, but I just really appreciate, Doug's a great planner. I've shared this with Doug, he's great at his craft. I think it was about all of the devil's advocacy, the counterpoints. Doug had a lot of institutional knowledge, has a lot of institutional knowledge about the community, about the organization, and for him to provide me some guideposts to work with coming in here at 33 years old, not knowing the community. Doug always helped temper my expectations and don't take that action or don't take that position, and here's why. And I always really valued the fact that Doug contributed to every conversation in our leadership team meetings, regardless if it were germane to community economic development and planning or planning and zoning or not. And I will always value that, Doug. And what a hell of a career here. Your work will be visible in this community forever.
I just want to add a few things. To the general public, a lot of people don't pay attention to the behind-the-scenes people, and Doug was one of the biggest behind-the-scenes people in the history of the city of Oak Creek. Without a doubt, he guided us through the largest development spurt in the city of Oak Creek, and we developed a lot of things from the time we became a city in 1955 on, but over the last 15, 20 years, Oak Creek has really accelerated that on many fronts. Lakefront, Drexeltown Square, IKEA, the Amazon, the list goes on and on. His fingerprints are all over this. I say everybody's fingerprints are all over the city, but Doug has really influenced this city for the better. Every resident is better off for his contributions, without a doubt. Personally, I'd like to thank you when I came in as a very young alderman and as a very young mayor. I asked a lot of stupid questions, and I still ask a lot of stupid questions, and you always gave me a really honest answer. I always appreciated that. Even if I agreed with it, didn't agree with it, didn't like the answer, you always made me understand exactly why this was put in place, whether you liked it or not. And that helped when you were explaining things to the public. You didn't, and I think Andrew said it best, incredible career here, without a doubt. That's what we want to see out of our employees, model employee for the city. On behalf of all its residents, the Common Council, myself, I want to thank you for a job not just well done, but excellently done. Thank you. And you'll probably get a proclamation or something too.
I'm counting on some real tongue twister, like 5 pages long.
I'd like to
Write
add,
it though.
Oh, Jim, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't go right.
how many years, Doug?
34 plus.
I went back and started looking at how long I've had a relationship with you, because you're really the one that I've had the longest relationship with, going all the way back to 2004 and Community Development Authority. And then, it's Common Council, Tourism, Common Council again. And the one thing that I think stands out in you, and I hope we have it in the next planner, is you always used a common sense approach when it came to businesses. It's easy to fall into kind of a planning tunnel and have your blinders on. You never had that. You always kept logic and common sense in mind, and I think also thought on behalf of the developer and obviously our constituents. So, great job.
Oh, thank you. And I'm kind of conflicted here because if you know me, I've got a fondness for brevity, but at the same time, I've got a bet with Matt and Catherine on the over/under on the meeting. So I've got to stall for another 4 minutes. I've really. No, I've really been blessed, not only to have my career here, but to raise my family here. I'm so thankful. And that's all that needs to be said right now.
Again, thank you, Doug, and we're blessed to have your services. Greatly appreciate it.
Just want to say congratulations, Doug. Retirement is everything it's meant to be.
So I've heard.
And the contents of that proclamation has to go on one page. So the more Catherine puts on there, the smaller the font.
We've got
Just
a really
remember
big
that.
plotter back there. No, thank you all.
Okay.
And you still win.
With that, we will look for adjournment.
Marshall move to adjourn.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Marshall.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Night, everybody. Stay out of the cold. It's going to be here for a while yet.